I remember what it was like starting pickleball from scratch 6 years ago. And so today I want to give you some super powerful tips that will help you to hit the ground running with your pickleball journey. I don't want to waste any time here. Let's head out to the courts to get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started with some standard stuff. This is stuff that happens every single time during a match. So here I am back at the baseline here. When you're returning someone's serve, you're going to be all the way back behind this baseline. And what you're going to do is when that serve is coming over, you're just going to smack the ball and you're going to run directly to this kitchen line right yonder. This happens every single time without question. So if you want to give yourself a good head start as a beginner, this is a great thing to do. So let me just show you. So here comes the serve, okay? I'm going to smack the ball and then run forward like this. And that's it. And hey, if you don't want to run or jog like that, you can power walk if you want to. Okay, so here comes the serve, hit it, and then I can really power walk my way up to the kitchen line. That's totally fine. What is not fine and what's going to really get you in trouble is if you do this. And then you kind of wait back here like that. That is not good. You always want to head up to this line right here. One very important principle to understand about pickleball is that the vast majority of points are won at this kitchen line. Super, super, super critical. Therefore, when you return that serve, you want to make sure you get to this line as quickly as you can. And this happens again every single time without question. So here I am at the line. Now do keep in mind, as you get better at pickleball, there will be some times when you don't want to run up to the net on the return of serve, but for now, don't worry about it. Just get up there right to the net and you'll be good to go. Your partner, by the way, is going to be standing right here. And that's the other thing that you should learn, is that if you're not the one that's returning the serve, you're going to be up here on this line, just hanging out, watching the serve come over. You won't be back behind here. Okay, so let's talk about how you actually hold this thing. So how should you hold the paddle? In general, you want to hold the paddle as far down the handle as possible. So generally you don't want to hold it up here. If that's your thing and that's comfortable for you, that's all good. But I highly recommend to hold the paddle all the way down at the bottom to where this fleshy part of your hand, there's a name for this, but this fleshy part of your hand is gripped around it like that, okay? And then the way you grip the paddle is you want to hold it out in front of you like this to where you can't really see either side of the face. Notice how it's pointed straight up. And then when you put your hand onto the paddle, you want to have your thumb and your index finger create a V that points directly towards your chin. See that? So the V isn't like this, it's not like this, but it's like this right in the middle and it's pointed at my chin. And then what you can do is have these fingers come diagonally up the paddle. So not perpendicular like this, yeah, they're perpendicular, but it's more like they're coming up the paddle. This is called the continental grip. You can call it whatever you want, neutral grip, whatever. Just start with that and it's really gonna help. Now, let's put that grip to use, shall we? Okay, let's have a little bit of fun now. Let's put this grip to use. What we're gonna do is start with the serve. Here's a really basic serve that you can do when you go out to the courts. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you're behind this baseline. That's very, very important. Have the paddle and the ball out in front of you like this. And what we're going to do is I want you to pretend like almost like you're holding like a skillet and you've got some onions that you have a skillet, but make sure that you have that same continental grip. What you're going to do is you're going to take the paddle back here. When you hit the ball, you're going to come all the way up like this. So you're going to give yourself a little back swing and then a little follow through, and that is it. That's all you have to do as a complete beginner, okay? So this is what it looks like. I'm gonna give you a couple of angles, so don't worry. So notice how I've got the paddle out here in front of me like this, okay? Back and then forward like that. Very, very simple. And what it's gonna feel like, it's almost gonna feel like you're bowling. This is important to have in your head here. So it's a very much so a bowling motion. What a lot of people do is they come from the side like this, and that's not gonna work. You gotta make sure that it's a bowling motion. Notice how slowly I came through the shot. You don't have to be aggressive. I'm aggressive as a more of an advanced player. That's what a more advanced serve looks like. Don't Don't worry about that right now. Skillet, back, and forward. Nice and slow, nice and easy. Let me change the angle for you. So now I've got the camera on the sideline looking down the baseline here. So watch what it looks like from this angle. So again, out here in front of you, right? Back, forward, like that. Here's what's probably gonna happen. When you start doing this for the first time, the ball may go way far left or way far right. Totally okay. What that means is that when you're hitting the ball, all that means is that the face is pointing in that direction. So either this way or that way. The way you do this, the way you fix this, is to make sure that the face, as it's coming through, is pointed directly at your opponent. So what you want to pretend like you're doing is that when you come through, you want to pretend like you're showing your opponent something that's on the face of your paddle. So there's like this little logo on the front here. What I'm going to do is pretend like you are the opponent watching this. And as I'm coming through, I'm going to pretend like I'm showing you what's on the face of my paddle. That way, that face is pointed directly forward, directly at your opponent. Okay? That is the basic serve. Make sure you have that good backswing and that good follow through. That will really carry you through the first couple of weeks of your pickleball journey. So I forgot to mention another type of serve that you can use in pickleball. It's called the drop serve, and this is great for beginners, especially for those who maybe you don't have an athletic background or you don't have a lot of coordination. All good. The drop serve is here. All you do is you hold the ball out with your arm parallel to the ground and you just drop the ball. That's it. And then you let it bounce and then you hit it. That's it. Make sure you don't apply any force downward or upward on the ball though. Just drop it and let gravity do its thing. The other great thing about this is that some of the serving rules don't apply. And by the way, I want to go over a couple of serving rules here. Now this is with the volley serve, which is what we did out on the courts. When you do the volley serve, make sure that you're swinging in an upward motion. There can be a little bit of a gray area here, but you certainly can't come down on the ball like that. You got to serve in that bowling style that we talked about. Also, the impact of the ball has to be below your waist. Also, when it comes to the impact on the paddle face itself, the location of the ball has to be below your wrist, not above. There can be a little bit of a gray area here with this stuff, but in general, that's how it works. But if you want to do the drop serve, none of these rules apply. However, when it comes to serving in general, you do need to make sure that you're behind the baseline and you're in between the center line and the sideline. I know this can seem like a lot, but don't worry, you'll get used to it as time goes on. Serving becomes second nature as you go. Now the other really important thing to understand as a beginner, and this is especially the case if you're playing with more experienced players, is to understand the kitchen rule. So this is the non-volley zone. There's one on each side of the court, or the colloquial term is the kitchen. The basic rule is that you can't be in the kitchen and volley a ball at the same time. So what's a volley? A volley is really simple. So if I dink back and forth here with Ryan and I hit a ball like this before it bounces, that's a volley. That's it. A volley is a shot that hasn't bounced yet. That's all it means. It doesn't matter if it's way up here. It doesn't matter if it's way down here. If it hasn't bounced yet, that's a volley. Now, here's the most important thing to understand about the kitchen. The kitchen is the flat ground here. It is not the space above it. So if my paddle is hovering above the kitchen and I volley a ball, that's okay because as you can see, my feet are outside of the line. The line counts as the kitchen, by the way. So if I'm volleying back and forth and I step into the kitchen to volley a ball, that is a kitchen fault and is not allowed, okay? So of course it counts for overheads as well, which is where you see most of this stuff happen, right? So if he pops it up for me and I hit an overhead, then that is a kitchen fault because I hit it while I'm in the kitchen. Now, here is the other important thing, and you see this happen all the time, and it's always funny when it happens. It also counts for your momentum. So I'm gonna show you what this looks like. So I'm gonna dink a ball over, and I'm gonna run forward and volley and do that. Even though I volleyed the ball before the kitchen line, since my momentum took me in, that is also a fault. You see big beginners do this all the time. So one of the biggest ways to make yourself not look like a beginner out there is to really understand and respect the kitchen rule. It is a really, really, really big deal. Now, it's not just your momentum that counts as a kitchen fault. It also counts if you were in the kitchen and you volley a ball. Man, they really don't want you in this kitchen, do they? There's a very good reason for that. The best way to think about the kitchen rule here is in terms of past, present, future. So you can't have been in the kitchen, you can't be in the kitchen, and you can't be in the kitchen in the future because of your momentum when you volley a ball. Remember, this is only for volleys. The ball bounces, none of this matters. In terms of the past tense, you can't be in the kitchen, jump out, volley the ball, and then land. You can't do that. You have to be completely reset outside of the kitchen before you strike the ball. So again, focus on this past, present, and future. The reason why the kitchen rule is so strict is because it's an essential element of the design of pickleball. The game cannot function without this rule. Now you may be thinking like, okay, well, then what do I need to do to kind of reset myself to not have this rule apply on a volley when it comes to the past or the future element of the kitchen rule? This is a big gray area and it's hard to kind of explain, but basically you need to have completely reset your footwork, reset your momentum and the state of your body before you volley the ball. Once you have reset yourself, then you can volley the ball. Kind of a weird thing, but in general, that's how it works. One confusing aspect of this that comes up a lot is with the bounce. Remember, a volley is a shot that hasn't bounced yet. So if the ball has bounced, if it has touched the physical ground, the kitchen rule for this stroke is off. It no longer applies, okay? So if I dink the ball while I'm in the kitchen, so it bounces and then I step in and dink, that's totally fine. Why is it fine? Because that wasn't a volley. So watch. I can literally stand here like this and dink the ball just fine, okay? Or like just what Ryan did there too. So Ryan, go ahead and step in the kitchen here. You're gonna do what I just did, okay? He can sit there all day like this, but do you wanna do that? Absolutely not, and here's why. If I hit it directly at him, he has no choice but to volley the ball. But since he's in the kitchen, that's a fault. This is why you always want to be outside the kitchen. And if you do step in to dink the ball like this, you need to step out and get back to your ready position. Speaking of ready position, one thing that will really make you look not like a beginner is to have a solid ready position. Here's what you don't want to do. What you don't want to do is make it look like you're waiting for the elevator at the office. So don't stand here like this. The ready position is very simple in pickleball. Paddle out in front of you, like this. Notice how my elbow is not on my side. Elbow is out front. Out here in front of you at all times. If you want to put two hands on there, that's totally fine if you're used to that. Maybe if you come from tennis, that's great. Feet shoulder width apart, like this. Slight bend in your knees, and then just give yourself a nice little squat like that. That's the ready position. Don't be like this. This is so bad. First of all, you're not ready for anything. You're gonna get pegged, and it's not very athletic. So watch. I want you to watch as we dink the ball. When I hit the ball, I come back to that ready position every single time. See? Okay. Back, hit, back, hit, back, hit, back. Do that. Come back to that ready position each time you hit the ball. It's gonna make you look a lot more experienced, and it's really gonna help your journey as you go forward. As you get better in pickleball, you're gonna learn a lot of really, really cool shots, and as a beginner, you can do them. So I've got another video for you. Click right up here, and I'll see you over there. Thanks for joining me.